I got that California.
Tapion, or Tapion, however you may want to pronounce his name, is one of many underrated and to an extent forgotten characters of the Dragon Ball Z universe. Although his presence is limited to one DBZ movie, his character has lots to say about him. In this video series, I'd like to talk about some of Dragon Ball's underrated characters, starting off with our boy Tapion. So the thing with Tapion, he features in the last Dragon Ball Z movie, or at least until the inception of Battle of Gods. The movie was titled Dragon Ball Z Dragon Fist Explosion. If Goku can't do it, who will? Dragon Fist Explosion being the name of the iconic attack introduced in the movie, or in my case, I call those Wednesday nights. Gay jokes aside, the movie comes after the death of Kid Buu, placing it in a very convenient timeline, away from any chance of being confusing to pinpoint. Although Tapion, being featured in this movie, he slowly became, for some fans, one of the most beloved movie characters of all time. While Akira Toriyama rarely takes initiative in writing the Dragon Ball movies, which is the main reason why most fans deem the movies non-canon, he does design a lot of them. Tapion is no exception. His name is a pun on the word tapioca. However, Toriyama did decide to change his name to Tapion because of the close similarity. And speaking of similarities, many Dragon Ball fans will point out the parallels between Trunks and Tapion, making many people believe that he was the main inspiration. And while that may be loosely true, I believe the parallels are drawn closer with the character Chrono from the classic and awesome game Chrono Trigger. Aside from both characters having an affinity with time, when looking at the official artwork of the two characters, we can see they share many things in common, first being the hairstyle and color. Both characters have red hair and share the typical Dragon Ball Z hairstyle, with various large points sticking out. The exception here is that Tapion's hair is cut in a mohawk style, while Chrono's hair is spiky, more like Goku's. Chrono's eyes are blue while Tapion's are green, so besides the hair and outfit, the two characters differ in the smaller details. In addition, a little tiny detail I may have left out is that both characters are actually designed by the one and only Akira Toriyama. And while we're still on the subject of games, Tapion features as a statue in a game that is actually not a Dragon Ball Z game. The game is called Blue Dragon, which was a collaboration of some of the most respected gaming artists, such as, and please excuse my butchered pronunciations, Hironobu Sakaguchi, creator of Final Fantasy, Nobu Uematsu, the composer of Final Fantasy, and Akira Toriyama, famed artist behind Dragon Quest, and obviously Dragon Ball Z. Also, if I may add, one final note on Tapion's appearance, and since I'm a huge Zelda fan myself, I must point out that Tapion wielding the ocarina really does remind me of the Hero of Time Link. Whether that was intentional or not is still awesome and gives Tapion a bonus in my book.
Having me around is dangerous.
Dangerous? You don't really seem dangerous to me, Tapion. Why don't you tell me about it?
One of the things that makes Tapion a deep and interesting character is his deep and rich backstory, giving you a gripping explanation to his cold and grim personality. Basically, to sum it up, this dude has seen some shit. You see, Tapion, much like Trunks and Bardock, is one of the most tragic heroes of the franchise. His story begins on a peaceful planet, but much like any peaceful planet in the Dragon Ball universe, peace does not last. What is found in peace is left in pieces, as a group of lifeless pricks called the Kashvars used their black magic in order to revive the giant beast known as Harudegron, giant monster. He was spawned to exterminate all species out there, which, thinking about it, Zamasu would have been really proud, wouldn't he? The Kashvars were soon thwarted when the two brave warriors, Tapion and his brother Minosha, found the necessary tools to take down this beast, slicing him in half, each of them sealing one half. However, their celebration was cut short once they realized the curse behind these weapons. Thus, so long as they're alive, the beast can come out at any time. So Tapion and his brother took the extra mile of sealing themselves in a magical music box in order to protect the rest of the universe from this beast.
Grab my hand, old man. No homo. Ew, faggot. Limo!
Unfortunately, one prick of the Kashvars remained alive, and so was his evil intentions. Hoi was his name, or Ho as I'd like to pronounce it. Ho managed to trick the Z-Fighters to release Tapion from his music box. How did he do it? Well, he attempted suicide, yeah. And what did Gohan Videl do? Give him help? Take him to Arkham Asylum? No. Much like any sane person, they gathered the Dragon Balls as his request for this wannabe Illuminati conspiracy theorist just to let him open this music box, which, might I add, the Z Fighters all tried to open it themselves but couldn't. I honestly have no idea what drugs they were smoking.
Should have known Hoy was a villain. Those whiskers are a dead giveaway.
Really, nigga?
But for plot convenience, our hero Tapion was released, but he was not happy. He was livid and anxious. Rightfully so, of course. This is the exact point where the movie stopped being a typical Dragon Ball Z movie that is usually heavily induced with fighting. The movie instead goes down a different path than the rest, focusing on Tapion and his relationship with Trunks, which parallels the relationship of Tapion to his brother. You see, Trunks never had an older brother like Goten, so he sees Tapion like one, just like Tapion sees Minosha in him.
Tapion, do you have any brothers or sisters?
A brother, yes.
I knew it! What's he like?
He was a good kid.
Right in the beginning, we see Tapion as an ungrateful asshole, especially Trunks, who tries to be nice to him. So instead of the movie telling it immediately and making us feel sympathy, they wait for us to see how his character progresses and his relationship with Trunks pans out. Then we find out the tragic backstory, which makes Tapion such a heavy character in my opinion. You see him suffer the consequences that many Dragon Ball characters don't. Death, misery, loss. Tapion never had the luxury of using the Dragon Balls. All damage is done permanently. In fact, at one point, he willingly asked Trunks of all people to kill him with his own sword, to ensure Hirudegan goes with him, bringing such a dark element even for Dragon Ball. Tapion brings the best of Kid Trunks, the most disappointing version of Trunks, especially when you consider that most fans prefer his older counterpart. Tapion gives Trunks so much room to develop his own character in this movie, something that even Dragon Ball Super failed to do so far.
No, Trunks! This monster is mine to handle, alone! Father! It has a weakness! I know!
But of course, Goku has absolutely none of that. With a great sense of entitlement, Goku cements himself as the undisputed protagonist in one of the most controversial scenes ever in Dragon Ball Z movie history, where Mr. Glory Hunter over here comes up with the most convenient and specific attack to one-shot the beast. Many fans dislike this turn of events as they believe it really did ruin the ending. However, one cannot deny the absolute badassness of the Super Dragon Fist move. It quickly became a fan favorite move in Dragon Ball franchise, featuring in many Dragon Ball games and even making a comeback in Dragon Ball GT, making it the Super Saiyan 4 Goku signature attack. Now, one thing I'd like to address before we move on to our final segment of this video is that many people compare Goku stealing the kill in this instance to what Goku does in the movie Resurrection of F. And despite the two instances looking similar, they're not entirely the same. Just pay attention to how Goku killed Frieza. He did it by cheap-shotting Frieza rather than asking Vegeta to take over the fight. Yes, I do realize that the fight was over and Frieza was attempting to destroy Earth, and that's exactly what makes it different. But Goku does take over the fight in this movie, challenging the giant monster and destroying him.
Trunks. Here.
For keeps?
Yeah, it's yours, brother.
Tapion's sword, one of the most popular swords in the franchise, known as the Brave Sword, a magical weapon capable of slicing Hirudegan. While this sword is a source of strength and pride to the wielder, it's nothing but a headache to Dragon Ball fans, including myself. Thus, at one point, I too thought that the Brave Sword Tapion used in the movie is the same one that future Trunks had when he killed Mecha Frieza. The main reason behind this is honestly Toei's fault. Well, not entirely their fault, but you see, right after Tapion gives his own sword to Trunks, an instant connection to future Trunks is already made. With obviously Trunks now owning his own very sword, the movie could have just ended that way and made the viewers decide and interpret what they just saw. But no, the movie goes out of its way to show you right after the credit rolls. Yes, they show you none other than future Trunks using a very similar looking sword, almost identical, slicing through the Frieza soldiers. Now, while the connection is definitely awesome, even mind-blowing in a sense, the movie was already good to begin with, offering us something different. So when it throws you with the plot twist that Trunks inherited the sword from Tapion, you as a fan will accept it. Heck, I accepted it myself because it's such a cool idea. However, it doesn't really make sense, as even if we would say that Wrath of the Dragon is canon to the manga and TV show, it still doesn't add up. And here is why. The events of Wrath of the Dragon could not have happened in the future Trunks timeline. Aside from the obvious that the movie isn't canon, the story with Tapion being trapped inside the music box would require Shenron to assist. And even if we assume that somehow the box was open and Trunks found Tapion, it wouldn't add up for one tiny little detail that people never thought of. And this would dispel any more speculations with the sword. Thanks to Dragon Ball Super anime, it proves that the events of Wrath of the Dragon never occurred because in the movie, Bulma gave Tapion a time machine in the end. But that would be impossible, as Bulma herself stated she had tried to reverse engineer Cell's time machine but failed and left it in its capsule. Thus, it's very unlikely that she would have been able to create a working time machine at all, as she was only able to fix the time machine after acquiring future Bulma's research notes and realizing its fuel source was something she recently discovered in a previous episode during the Copy Vegeta fight. That little detail alone dispels the sword theory entirely. However, to ease you guys a little bit, I mean at least for anyone who is disappointed by this revelation, it is still common in some Dragon Ball games to acknowledge this theory. For example, in Dragon Ball's universe, when Tapion faces off either Kid or future Trunks, he has this to say.
Come on, let's go, Tapion!
You're a hero, Trunks. Through and through. You're...
So yeah, at least the theory is shown some love, despite it being very unlikely. But to reiterate, most Dragon Ball movie characters are villains that have little to no real personality, and are usually never given development to make one in the first place. But as for Tapion, a great deal of the movie focuses on his development and his growth as a character, and that makes him one of the most appealing ones.
For too long, you've fed on the misery of others. You stole from me everything precious and dear, but no more. It ends now.
So as you guys can tell, I made a sizable effort into making this video, and I'm very aware that I haven't posted in a very long time. And maybe this isn't the video you guys were waiting for. Maybe some of you were waiting for my thoughts of the new Dragon Ball movie, or some of the new Dragon Ball stuff, or any Dragon Ball Super content in general. But I'm just been disappointed with myself with how I dealt with not only this channel, but also how I dealt with my life. And I really didn't want to use my mental condition as a shield from criticism and a shield from what you might people think of me. Because at the end of the day, I did neglect you guys and I did neglect this channel. And I feel like I owe it to you guys to actually make something that I probably cared about. And yes, I know Tapion is probably not the most interesting thing out there, but rewatching this movie, Wrath of the Dragon, really made me appreciate Tapion and really reignite some of the joy that I used to have for Dragon Ball Z. I don't know about you guys, but Dragon Ball Super has been such a huge source of frustration for me. And I'm not gonna blame Dragon Ball Super for the lack of content, but Dragon Ball Super being so lackluster and so boring really did contribute to the lack of motivation. Even though I'm not really going to blame Dragon Ball Super so much because, again, it's my responsibility to make content for you guys. But moving on, I still hope you guys enjoyed this video, so please, like always, drop a like if you have. It would mean so much to know that you guys are still supporting me. It will for sure motivate me to make more content. So until next time, peace.